On this episode of Deleted WrestleZone, we're going to review this week's Wednesday Night War, which has become an interesting, and there were certain things that happened within both shows, great matches and all this storytelling and all this pretty cool stuff. But let's get the show started. So welcome to Deleted WrestleZone.
Are you ready? Get up, get up. 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 Get up, get up.
Hey everybody, this is J Rod here for Deleted WrestleZone. I hope everybody is having a great time, washing your hands and keeping your social distancing. First things first, before I get started, I made a mistake in the last episode that I put out. I throw out a intro video of, it's supposed to be the throwback wrestling event. It kind of messed up to the match of the week, so I kind of messed up on my part. So my bad. Let's talk about this week's Wednesday Night War. The views and the ratings are kind of interesting. If you guys don't know, the NXT won the viewership by 1,000 views, so they gained 693,000 views, while AEW had 692,000 views, and that's 1,000 view margin. Now, as for the ratings, from what I understand, the rate for AEW was 0.26 and NXT 0.19. To be honest with you, I have to say it feels like a draw. To be honest with you, I don't think the views mattered anymore, but the only reason they won was because, if you must know, this particular event show became more of the NXT takeover. Some of the matches were scheduled to take place at takeover, but it didn't happen in Tampa, so it happened to this past Wednesday. So so let's start with NXT, since they won the most views on this week. So NXT started with the number one contendership ladder match. So whoever wins this match will face Charlotte Flair for the NXT title. And keep aware, it's no longer the NXT women's title, so they're calling it now the NXT Championship. So it's pretty cool what they're doing now. So it was women who were part of that participated in who were in the six women. We had Io Shirai, Tegan Knox, Chelsea Green, uh, Mia Yim, Dakota Kai, and Candice LeRae. Now, of course, there are three women who have one thing in common. They hate Dakota Kai, and that is Mia Yim, Tegan Knox, and Candice LeRae. So basically, these are people that had a problem with Dakota because she cost everyone, the women's who were on Rhea Ripley's side, the war games that took place. But of course, there's the interference from both Dakota Kai and Chelsea Green. With Chelsea Green had Robert Stone, who's trying to ensure that Chelsea Green wins. There were moments that she hurt herself on two occasions. One by Mia Yim, one where Io Shirai and Candice LeRae pushed Robert Stone and Chelsea Green off the ring. Well, with the ladder, kind of like, yeah. So that kind of ruined. But the crazy part was Mia Yim trying to powerbomb Raquel. And here comes Tegan Knox, who hasn't forgotten what happened the last time. She grabbed her by the neck and kind of like, I don't know if you call it choke slam or push her off, whatever. But we all know Mia Yim, she's a tough lady who can put herself through a table. But the biggest part was Tegan Knox giving a kick right at Tegan Knox, landing right through the ladder and bending it. It was damn. This one was really a good match. And of course, I had no clue who was going to win it, but I'm pretty much happy with the result. Io Shirai won this one. I feel she deserved it because she has been trying to get a shot at the title, and she had no luck with Shayna Baszler. I think she might have had it twice. I'm not sure. And then, of course, I saw Chelsea Green. She's like, no, that could happen. Well, I have a feeling this is far from over from that. Um, then we see the recap with Finn Balor, talking about what's his next step. But apparently, someone made it for him, and that person was Walter. And he sent his Imperium goons to send him a message, and then he went to NXT UK to handle his business. And of course, he had a message for Walter. He tells him he's coming for the title. This is something me and my brother kind of predicted that he could get his hands on the NXT UK title. But does he have the capability to beat him and win the title? We may never know. So we're still unclear when that's going to happen. And of course, we're talking about the whole kidnapping with Mendoza and Joaquin Wild. Now, it's still unclear who was behind it. There's still no indication who's behind the plots, who's behind the kidnapping. All we know is they were taken by two masked men in some SUV or sedan or whatever. But, but yeah, that's what happened. So no word yet of what's going on. Remember, Joaquin Wild was kidnapped a week ago. Raul Mendoza was kidnapped a month ago, so they were like a month apart. So still unclear what is going on. Then we see a tag team match with Malcolm Bevan's Enterprises with his two brutes called Inda Sher versus Ever Rise. I feel like this is another squash match. Ever Rise are a bunch of jobbers, so basically I think they might have taken a page out of AEW since they've been using jobbers since part of the pandemic situation has been happening. Who knows? So, and of course, in their share one, giving a message saying they're here to dominate the tag team division. I can't wait to see what they're going to do. It's still no clear when. We'll see the NXT champ, um, NXT championship, I mean, NXT tag team championship taking place. Pete Dunne is still stuck in the UK, so he cannot leave the UK and fly over here. So, because of the restrictions that are being placed. So, I don't know how things are going on in the UK, but we just got to wait and see when it happens. Then we see Adam Cole actually give a message to Velveteen Dream. Now, remember, Velveteen Dream planned a trap for Adam Cole. What happened is Adam Cole. Hold on a second, something. Okay. Adam Cole was stuck inside of a steel cage with Velveteen Dream. Now, we saw what Velveteen Dream, he locked himself in with um, Adam Cole, and this whole thing was a trap. So, but Adam Cole commended him on his little scheme, but he feels he still doesn't deserve or earn the right to win the title. Like he hasn't impressed him enough. But Velveteen Dream, he's gonna find a way to squeezle or squeeze himself in to get a title shot, and Adam Cole has no other choice to do so. And then we have the WrestleMania recap with Rhea Ripley and Charlotte Flair at WrestleMania for the NXT Championship, and it was a brutal match from what I saw. Of course, Charlotte Flair was dominant, and I don't think Rhea Ripley was well prepared to face someone like Charlotte because, of course, that's why they call her the Queen. But we just gotta wait and see. So we now know that Io Shirai is the number one contender. But the real question is, when will she face Charlotte Flair for the title? Then finally, we go to that hour-long main event, the one final beat. Basically, this is the last match between both Tommaso Ciampa and Johnny Gargano. So this match was everywhere. Triple H didn't care how much they hate each other, how much they're willing to destroy each other. All he wants is the whole rivalry to end. So they went on for this for almost an hour, and here comes Candice LeRae, try to plead with Johnny, and then all of a sudden she kicked him in the groin. I think Tommaso Ciampa felt like, how do I say this? He didn't expect this, that his marriage was gonna be ruined. But later, all of a sudden, Candice LeRae got him from behind and kicked him in the groin. And he showed Tommaso he lost, and he showed him that he had the cup on. So basically, it was a scheme, and that's how he won the match. Now, I'm gonna pause you guys right here. Now, I don't know if you know this, but this came around the news recently. As Candice and Johnny Gargano were leaving, there was a couple in a car. The speculation is the people who were in that car watching Gargano and Candice was none other than Scarlett Bordeaux and, of course, her real life boyfriend, Killer Cross. Now, was are they planning to do a power couple kind of story where they're going to attack Candice LeRae and Johnny Gargano? Who knows? But I'm pretty much interested to see where they're going to go with this because I've always been a fan of how they're going to go with the stories in each of every story they come up with. But I'm pretty much excited how they're going to go. If it is, I'll give it a shot and see how it's going to go. But we just got to wait and see where they're going to go with. There is still no official word what plans they have. We do know that Killer Cross is set to debut in NXT soon. We've been seeing those video packages where it says TikTok. But let's just wait and see. So that is it for NXT. So let's move on with AEW Dynamite. All right, so let's talk about AEW Dynamite now. The same old thing happened where they still have they're still at the Norcross, Georgia, the Nightmare Factory, which is the school where QT Marshall was teaching, and of course they had for attendance all the wrestlers. I have to say I like that better because at one side you got the heels, one side you got the faces. So let's start out with the first match of that night. Well, start out with Jake the Snake Roberts giving a message. So that's how it ended, and then this one is a squash match, as people like to call it. Lance Archer with this guy named Alan Angle. The reason it was a squash match because, of course, this guy's a jobber, and it's kind of simple to put jobbers in a position where they have to lose either to a good guy or a bad guy. So that's always been the case. So Lance Archer is the one who won it, but keep in mind he is involved in the tournament for the first ever AW TNT Championship. So I will give my prediction that later on in a bit. Then we had a women's match between Dr. Britt Baker versus Hikaru Shida. Now this one I have to say was one of the best matches in the women's division. I know that they made it a priority. They were unable to perform that way throughout the entire time, but it was a good match to see the aggressiveness. One thing it was kind of scary is that Britt Baker was busted open, but she went with it. I don't know if you guys noticed. I think because what people don't understand, sometimes they do plan things out, but sometimes things like that come for the best because they want to give out a good show. And the way Britt Baker performed was great, and I enjoyed it. And I have to say her role as a heel had served perfectly well on this with a since signing with AEW. So, but Hikaru Shida won the match, which was no surprise to me because I know there's some people who are giving high expectations to Hikaru Shida. So I'm excited to see where they're gonna go with this next. So she's currently won maybe 8 or 9 consecutive wins. So can't wait to see it. So Hikaru Shida won this match. The next thing happened. Well, we had a segment where Kenny Omega was talking with Michael Nakasawa. Since those two go way back to DDT, they were trying to come up with a name, but Michael Nakasawa had to open his big fat mouth and decided to say, "Let's call themselves best friends." But there's already the best friends, Chuck and Trent. But Michael goes, "You're the EVP. You can overrule it." Out of nowhere, here comes Orange Cassidy out of the bathroom in their dressing room, and he tells Trent and Chuck what they did, and that kind of fit perfectly. And I know Kenny didn't want nothing to do with it. Thanks to Michael, he had to open his big fat mouth. So it became a tag team match between those two. We do see the like a little recap, a little promo or whatever between Hagar and Moxley. That's gonna take place next week or so. So I'm excited to see how it's gonna go. And of course, Hagar said he's not here for the fame to become champion and win it for his family. But I'm not sure if they're gonna have Moxley lose the title quickly or whatever's gonna happen. But we just gotta wait and see. Much of the entire program was like that. They were talking about Hagar and Moxley's match, so can't wait to see it. Then we do another pro. They were doing another video package between the rivalry between Moxley and no Cody and Spears. We know how that began. It began in Fighter Fest, so we know the history on that. It's kind of because we know that their main event is part of the tournament for the TNT Championship, which is the main event. Then we finally go to the tag team match between Kenny Omega and Michael Nakasawa versus the Best Friends. Now, Sean Spears, throughout the entire time, he was scouting Michael Nakasawa. He's trying to tell him to don't use use the oil. Come on, he's not gonna resist. But it's so funny, and it Michael Nakasawa is one of the most funniest comedians ever. So I'm gonna wonder what is it like to see Michael Nakasawa and Colt Cabana together. I gotta see that. It's gonna be a funny match. If you guys want to see it, you gotta tell me. Then we see a little another video package with Brody Lee. This time, he's upset with two of his minions. One minion shows up with the tie, and the others how they normally dress. And pretty much has always been like he's not satisfied with what they were doing. So he told him next time, do what you're told. So the minions realize they screwed up, but it is what it is. But he did have a match in another squash match, as we like to call it, against Lee Johnson. If you guys remember, he was in AEW Dark last this past Tuesday, facing against his teacher, mentor, QT Marshall. But frankly, he lost that match. Then we see a video package of Matt Hardy talking about the circle of his internal, in which he calls it, telling Sammy Guevara he's a Spanish god. He's like, he's not a god, he's a fraud. He can't even speak Spanish. If you tell him, ¿Qué pasó? He's like, I don't know hablo español. So he was like telling all this. And he was talking about proud and powerful, and then Hagar that his Franken Hagar, which is too funny. And then he tells Vanguard to bring him the shirt, but he's like, that's not the shirt I asked for, but that's a really good one you have. And he tells him what happened to the one that the Inner Circle gave him, the Jericho gave him, and he tells him it's on fire. It's like, what? Dumpster fire. Oh, dumpster fire. You know. So it was a pretty good segment on that. I think I like how they're going with this with Matt. Then we jump in now to the main event. This one was a brutal match. Jericho was like hoping that Sean Spears win this match because he throughout the entire time he was the commentator with Tony Schiavone. You saw many things with her gonna go with. Um, he was pulling out the table, pulling out the guardrail, everything, but nothing seems to stop Cody. Because here's the thing: Cody knows he has no way to go for the running for the AEW World Title. But no one said anything about the TNT. So, but he picked up the win by doing the crossroads a few times. But here's my prediction for this tournament. Like I said, Lance Archer's in tournament. I have a feeling this is gonna go where Lance Archer and Cody will be in the finals. Now, do I think it's selfish me to think? Nope, it's not. Think about it. For a while now, Jake the Snake Roberts has been asking for Cody to be in a match against him for a long time. But what if they do end up in the finals? Think about it. That's how I would predict. And Roberts will get his wish, even though it will be by faith or how it was planned. I like how the story would go. But I have to say it was a pretty good show. I did the women's match and the tag team match, and of course the main event were the best of the night. So, do I think both shows were good? Yeah, despite the fact of the views, everybody won. I don't think it matters at the point unless one of them do something cool that wins the viewership. So for all you WWE fans out there saying, yes, they won this week, it doesn't matter anyway. AEW is not going nowhere. They are here to stay. Get that to your thick skull. Because if you guys don't think that way, that gives WWE a run for their money. They have to think better ideas, better content, unless if they don't have any. That's one of the main things that people have forgotten. So we just gotta wait and see what's gonna happen for next week. Hopefully, both shows can do a good show. So I must bid all of you adieu. Stay safe. Wash your hands. Goodbye. And have a nice day.